This is your voice, your vote. Election Night 2014. Reporting live from ABC News Election Night headquarters in Times Square. Once again, George Stephanopoulos.
And I'm back here with our entire election team. We are tracking all the results coming in tonight. Control of Congress at stake, the Senate as well, 36 governors. And ABC News has said we have already projected that the Republicans will control the House, plus 4 seats in the House for Republicans so far in the House. The big issue, of course, the Senate, and that's the map you see right there. There have been 4 switches so far from Democrat to Republican in the Senate. That's 4 of the 6 switches Republicans need to take control of the Senate. One of the big states coming up, polls have just closed in the state of Colorado. I want to go there right now. That's where Senator Mark Udall, the Democrat, is facing Congressman Cory Gardner. Been a hard-fought race all through this election, a state that President Obama won in 2012, won in 2008. I want to go right out to Lindsey Davis right now in Colorado, in Denver, and a lot of votes coming in. This was a state also where everyone in the state can vote by mail.
That's exactly right. This is one of the most watched, most competitive, most expensive Senate races in the country. Prior to today, the headline was that this was going to be down to the wire, that this was going to be neck and neck, a photo finish. But it sounds like, based on what we're hearing, the general consensus from voters on the street and also here in the newsroom, that this is going to go to Cory Gardner. At least that's what people are saying. And the problem, they're saying that Mark Udall presented himself as a one-issue candidate, that he focused way too much on women's issues, so much that they gave him the moniker Mark Uterus.
Let's thank you, Liz. I want to bring in David Muir on that because he's been looking at the exit polls on that. What does it show?
Yeah, campaigning on contraception, birth control, and take a look at the way the women in Colorado are voting. 52% for Udall, 43% to Gardner. That might look impressive for Udall, but keep in mind, he won women by 15 points the last time around. And look at the independent vote in Colorado tonight. We know nearly 4 in 10 Colorado voters are independents, and look, they are swinging Cory Gardner's way, which could explain the numbers we're seeing here tonight out of Colorado.
That's right. And one of the things we saw in Nicole Wallace, this was a case where Cory Gardner came in, replaced a more conservative Tea Party candidate and ran a very optimistic, sunny campaign that worked for him.
It did, and he did something really smart. In the last 3 cycles, Republicans have allowed the issue of abortion rights to get tangled up with access to contraception. I think the numbers are about 90% of American women have used birth control at some point in their life. So by being perceived as being against access to birth control, Republicans were really struggling with women. Cory Gardner was very smart. He proposed putting, or at least studying, putting birth control pills over the counter. And I think that if the night goes his way, it may be an important lesson to take to national Republicans.
That is going to be the lesson, Donna Brazil. A lot of people think the Democrats overplayed this war on women.
No, I don't think they overplayed it. Maybe that was the only focus that people thought that Mark Udall had. Mr. Gardner changed his position on the personhood amendment. Mark Udall tried to make that an issue. Unfortunately, voters wanted to talk about equal pay. They wanted to talk about the economy. They wanted to talk about other issues. But the only thing they thought they heard was Mark Udall talking about one issue, and that was abortion.
Matthew Dowd.
The interesting thing to me is I think we had a lot of candidates talking past where the voters were. If you look in the exit polls, they wanted to talk about the economy. They're upset about the economy. They don't think their financial situation has improved for the last 10 years and is going to improve. And we had one side talking about the war on women and the women's issues, and the other side talking about President Obama and Obamacare. And what was left for fertile ground, which some candidates did well, was the economy, and they didn't talk about it.
One of the big races were Republicans on defense tonight, the state of Kansas. Senator Pat Roberts there facing a stiff challenge from an independent, Greg Orman. The Democrat dropped out of the race. This has been a close, hard-fought race. Matt Gutman following it in Kansas City.
And it could be an historic race tonight as well, George. Greg Orman is probably neck and neck right now with Pat Roberts. A lot of disaffection with him. And if he does pull it out, and listen, he's an independent, not a Democrat, but if he does pull it out, it would be the first time that a non-Republican is elected as senator here in Kansas since 1932. So much dissatisfaction with Republican leadership here, and they're showing it with their feet. The lowest voter Republican turnout since 1992, George.
And John Carl, quickly, one of the things about Orman is that he's had a very sort of complicated narrative on what he's going to do, who he's going to caucus with if he gets the win and comes to Washington.
Yeah, and I talked to his people about this today. The bottom line is, If the Republicans have the majority, he says that he would likely caucus with the Republicans. And if the Democrats have the majority, he would likely caucus with the Republicans. What he hasn't said, George, is what he would do. I mean, for the Democrats, what he has said, what he has not said is what he would do if he would be the tie-breaking vote.
And we'll see if that's the case. I do want to go to Katie Couric right now. Katie Couric from Yahoo doing something different this election night. I know you're down in Washington, Katie. I think you're in a bar.
Yeah, George, you know, we decided to start a third political party. We're here at the Capitol Lounge in D.C. We've assembled a group of pundits, journalists, and partisans of all stripes, our Yahoo News team, to look at the results and what it means for Congress, the president in 2016. We're particularly looking at some key voting blocks both parties have been trying to woo, namely black voters, Hispanics, women, and millennials. Let's take a look, by the way, at that last group. Young voters between the ages of 18 and 29. Barack Obama was like political Red Bull to them in 2008 and 2012. And they were so energized. They came out, as you know, George, in big numbers. But now, traditionally, midterms, of course, have lower turnouts, and that includes millennials. But this time around, all indications were it might be even worse. We wanted to find out why and determine what is motivating them. Well, they care about issues like racial profiling in the wake of Ferguson, sexual assault on college campuses. They care about student loan debt, now topping $1 trillion. These are some of the things they wanted to talk about, but not exactly what they were hearing the candidates talk about. So they seem as disillusioned with government and our leaders as everyone else, and that might be helping the Republicans tonight. Of those millennials who said they would definitely vote, 51% say they'd prefer Republican-controlled Congress. So this might be the first time in decades that Republicans can start to make inroads in convincing young voters they're in better hands with the GOP. You can bet that will be part of their strategy as we head toward 2016. And, George, you might think about bagging your set and doing your election coverage from the bar. I have to say it's a lot more fun.
I'm sure that's true. No drinks here tonight, but thank you for the cupcakes. Thank you for sending those cupcakes earlier. You know, right now we have another win to project for the Republicans. This is a governor's race, and it's a big one. Governor Scott Walker in Wisconsin has defeated Mary Burke. This was a tough race for Mary Burke, an important win for Governor Scott Walker, facing a stiff challenge, looked at as a possible presidential candidate in 2016. We're going to talk about that a lot more coming up after the break. We have to take a break right now. Talk about Scott Walker, the other Senate races, also the other potential candidates in 2016. Stay with us.